And my in-studio guest is Peter Mansbridge, news anchor, interviewer. The name of the book, One-on-One, Favorite Conversations, and the Stories Behind Them. You write about a somewhat difficult interview with Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah, she was tough. She was on a book tour, like I'm on, and every question I asked her response was the same. You obviously haven't read the book.
And you had.
And I had read the book, which really made me mad, and the thing just, it didn't go well, let's just say that. And by the end of it all, once the interview was done, she leaned over and she said, "Peter, would you like me to sign the book?" As if nothing had just happened.
Yeah,
I was ready to throw the book at her.
And you wrote in this book that when she said you haven't read the book, you almost said, "Well, did you write it?"
Yeah, and I should have.
Yeah.
Because it turned out that a couple of other people had actually done the majority of the writing for her on it, and it would have been a great comeback. There was suspicion of that at the time, but I chose to be the nice, courteous Canadian, which was probably a mistake.
Have you ever had an interview that did become a complete debacle?
No, I've had a few that I'm proud to say kind of rescued off the, out of the fire. Thatcher I think was the closest to a disaster. I can remember Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys coming in. I tell the story in the book because I think the fun part about this book is not only excerpts from the transcripts of the interviews, but the kind of things that happen beyond what the people see in terms of television. But when Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys, who's notoriously an odd guy,
yeah,
but a brilliant,
not a big talker,
no, and
lying in bed,
exactly, but a brilliant artist, and had a big impact on my life in the '60s, no doubt about that. When he walked in to do the interview, we were doing it down at Massey Hall, and I think he thought it was going to be a 1-minute interview, and I'm sitting there ready to go for a half an hour, right? And so every answer he had was 1 or 2 words. Oh my God, this is going to be hard work, and it was hard work. But at the end of the day, it's one of my favorite interviews.
How did you draw him out?
Well, you just keep going at him. You try to find the common ground. We were talking about that. You kind of gain the person's respect, and sort of about halfway through the interview, you can actually see him going, this is okay. I'm having fun here, and it was a good moment.
I don't want you to trash your medium, but I've always thought that radio is a great interview medium, and television, when I've done it, I find the setup, the possibility of tapes running out, of somebody suddenly saying, "Sorry, the sound's not working." It's a tough medium to get up to that level where the interview works.
Yeah, you got to get over that moment. When I did Barack Obama earlier this year, just before he came in, he was in a rush. There was a lot of pressure on get this thing over with. He sits down. He was very nice, to us. He sits down, and just before we're ready to roll, his press secretary, Robert Gibbs, says, "Wait a minute, the lighting's not right." And I'm going,
the press secretary?
Yeah.
Big DOP.
Oh, yeah. I'm going, give me a break. And I'm looking at the president across from me, and I'm going, I'm sorry. And he looks at me and he says, "Don't worry about it." He says, it's the shine police. They were worried about it. As it turned out, the lighting was fine. But those things can really derail you if you let them. Mm-hmm. And so, I hear you. But I can remember at the end of the Obama interview when he left, the first person I turned to was Doug Husby, our main cameraman. I looked at Doug and I said, "We were rolling on that, right?" You always worry about those little things.
My guest, Peter Mansbridge.